When you're in person, this is just to help you get set up in your station, and this is also for those that are distant, so you can see the process and then watch the end of the video to see the visual product and how it changes and kind of see the lapse of time. So the beginning part is for everybody, and then keep watching if you're distance students. You're going to need to download this Fermentation Frenzy experiment and then take the notes at the end and submit this today. Everyone else in person, you're going to be getting this in hard copy form. So I'm going to read through the beginning parts of this so we can understand where we're starting and where we're going. So we're looking at yeast and fermentation today. Yeast, remember, is a one-cell plant. It's kind of in the same cousin family as a mushroom. And like mushrooms that don't have any chlorophyll to produce food, then they are using other forms of, things around them to get, like, their surroundings of things to help them grow, just like a mushroom needs that. So does yeast. Yeast needs some other form of food for it to grow, and also it needs operable conditions, meaning that temperature and time are important when we look at yeast. So the dried yeast that you see in the store, looks like kind of like sand, is what we're using in this experiment. And then it does need certain environmental things with as well food to help with fermentation, and we'll able to see what that looks like today. So the products of fermentation, which is alcohol and carbon dioxide, are what make those baker's essentials to bread making. We need that carbon dioxide to form to create little bubbles. We use carbon dioxide to form in quick bread when we use our chemical leaveners like baking soda, baking powder. In this case, it's the active yeast that's doing that, and the formation of gas makes that rise. So this experiment is designed to what type of foods do yeast like, which is the most favorable for yeast growth. So you'll be able to see kind of how that's bubbling up and growing. I'm going to go through the materials first and then go through how to set up your station. So I've got a liquid measuring cup. I need these little custard cups, something that's going to hold at least about 7 to 8 ounces. We need 6 ounces of liquid about, and a little bit more for room. And then I need some measuring spoons, 3 separate spoons so we can keep all of our stuff separate. Cornstarch. Corn syrup is like a syrup in a bottle, and then sugar, just plain old sugar. And then the yeast itself, I like to use a little pan when I'm using corn syrup. You don't have to do this if you're home. You can just watch the experiment as it unfolds. If you wanted to do this, you could at home as well. I also have a stock pot and a candy thermometer attached to it. I'll show you what it looks like more close up. This candy thermometer has a little hook on the end, and what's nice about it is that it keeps your thermometer intact the whole time. You don't have to mess with dipping it in there and holding it, because we need to consistently keep the temperature at 110 today. So when you are using a candy thermometer, you don't want this little glass red tip to be touching the end of your pot. You want it to be kind of hovering in the water. So you want to adjust it to where it fits. And I'm going to just check. This is perfect. It does take a little finickiness to get your water the right temperature, 10, which means that you have to turn your heat up to about medium low. You want it to gradually get to 110, but you don't want it to exceed 120. 110 is kind of the optimal temperature. So once you get it there, you want to keep it on low. I like using the smaller of the two stove tops. I've got the bigger and the smaller because I think it just helps adjust the heat a little bit better. This is actually too hot now. I'm gonna move it off the heat for a sec. I'll put it over here because the temperature isn't itself very hot. When I dip my finger in, it's not like it's warm or it's gonna burn you. But these little glass containers we're gonna be putting in, so when you fill up your water, you don't want it to go over the top. You want it to hit about halfway. This is basically creating like a warm bath for our 3 containers that we're gonna do the experiment with. So just kind of test that before you put them in the water. This one I measured 1 cup of water and I put it in the microwave for about 20 seconds. Again, check the temperature. We want 110 for all of our water today. And then I'm going to be putting my yeast in there, and that's going to start mixing up and getting the fermentation going. It's cooled down since I started the video, so I'm going to do like 10 seconds. Yep, that looks good. So now I can put in my 2 1/4 teaspoon of yeast. Just shake it so it's level. This is also just the same measurement as a little packet that you can buy at the store. And that sandy pebble starts to dissolve pretty quickly and turn this water kind of a muddy look to it. And I have 1 cup of water, so I need to evenly distribute all 3 of into these little containers. So I know that 1/3 cup is equal to 1 cup, or 1/3 times 3 is equal to 1 cup. So I can equally take this out by getting to 2/3, checking it, 1/3, and then the rest. I'm gonna take a few of these little clumps here that haven't finished dissolving. Then I'm gonna add in all that's food. This is looking good here. This temperature. So I can add 1 tablespoon of each. So I'm gonna do sugar on this one, cornstarch. The second one, I like to just put a little spray to do my corn syrup because then it just comes out really slick. And I'm going to measure out those 3 and then just stir them up until they start to dissolve. Just use each spoon separately. Put them in, just be really careful into this water bath so they don't spill into your water. And keep track. You want to keep track of your 3 ingredients. So I've got sugar on the top left, cornstarch in the bottom, and corn syrup on the right-hand top side. And then just check your temperature. Mine is at 110 perfectly, so I'm just gonna keep it at the temperature on the smaller pan, and then I'm gonna put my camera so you can see it better, and I'll label each cup so you can see them. So those that are in person, this is where you guys are gonna start doing your observation. So it takes a little time for the fermentation to start, so be patient. Just keep an eye on your temperature, and then take notes of anything that's happening. You're looking for bubbles, and you're looking to see how rapidly they start. So check the time and look for bubbles. So I would, if you have a watch on, or if you want to look at the timer or your clock in your kitchen, just kind of see how long is it taking for each one to start within any activity of bubbles. You can also kind of smell the mixture to see if it smells like alcohol. That's another indication that fermentation is happening, because that is just another example of fermentation is alcohol. If you are distance, I'm gonna put the camera up so you can see. So that's how you'll take your notes, and then make sure you submit this in Schoology. You guys will turn them in if you are in person, and then just kind of keep an eye on your notes, and then hopefully you learned a little bit more about fermentation today. Let me know if you have questions. Bye. All right, I'm gonna show you guys here, because the lighting isn't perfect in this pan. This has been about 15 minutes. This one is sugar, this one is corn syrup, and this is cornstarch. This one, if I kind of pull over, it's got like this foamy look to it. So definitely lots of bubbles are forming. Kind of looks like a hot tub to me. This one, again, not as many foaming bubbles, but it definitely has some, a small layer. This one really doesn't have anything going on, just maybe a small skimmy layer. So hopefully that gives you an indication of which ones are fermentating better. Make those notes and submit your work.